Hi, my name's Lloydine.
And I'm Heidi.
And we are
the U-Haulers.
Hello, hello. So, we're back. We had Xander on the last episode. Yeah. How amazing was it having Xander in our virtual home? We still want to go to Hawaii and see her in real life. We thought she was so incredible. We talked for days about her presence.
Yeah, she was great.
And she did say that she goes by she, her. And like me, also is considering they, them, or doing both.
Yeah.
It's a journey we're both on. So I was watching the episode and I thought about something. So I've never really talked about the Ultimatum because we weren't filming when I was, binge watching and obsessed. But what I didn't mention, because I had a lot of questions about Yoli for Xander. Yeah. I mean, obviously because they were in the trial marriage, for one. But also what I never mentioned is that Yoli was one of my favorites from the beginning and was actually she's my type. Yeah. And I, pre-pandemic, had short hair like Xander. So, and Yoli has, so when I saw Yoli, I was like, oh my gosh, that Mal or Yoli is who I'd want to do my trial marriage with.
Right.
Mal just because Mal is just kick-ass. And Yoli was hot as fuck. And so I was so tuned in on them. And then, like any fan, I fell in love with them as a couple and wanted Yoli and Xander to get together and was just like dying. It was like a romance novel come to life. Like Mel said, it was palpable.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to keep watching and watching, and I wanted them to get together. And so I just took all the highs and lows. So that's why I think I was so much like Xander. Aspen, we have a kitten.
Rescue kitten.
But I was like, oh my gosh, Xander, what did you think when all of a sudden you thought maybe Mal didn't know you were talking? Or what did you think when, all of a sudden you were watching and you found out that, Mal had said, go break up? And, I just needed to know the ins and the outs because I was just like, But anyways, but I do think Yoli is amazing. I think what they all went through was so raw. And I can't imagine being in a situation where you're in love with Mal and going through this
really intense
proposal, like this proposal that you guys, you'd always wanted and talked about, but now it's coming at a timing issue.
Yeah, when you are considering being in love with someone else.
And you have things to figure out with Mal, and you need closure, and you don't want to lose Xander, and so I can imagine the emotions were out of control, and that's why it was such a roller coaster ride, and that's why it was such a fan favorite couple. And so that's why when the ring got taken off, we're all like, it was like a knife, and and having to see her go through this emotional proposal and say yes, but then this emotional goodbye with Xander, and then Xander thinking they didn't get engaged and still in love, but then oh my gosh, it was just a lot. So, and Mal obviously was just amazing, and so,
I mean, all of them were. It was one of those. I think it's one of the only reality shows, and I have not been like a reality show junkie very long, but it was one of the only reality shows where I felt like literally every contestant had a full character arc, right? Where you just really got to see, you saw weak moments and brilliant moments and just, so you could really take the journey with them. And I think that is what, she's just going to be here, I guess.
You're not allowed on the table.
But I think that was just a really big part of why it was so easy to kind of ride the highs and lows with them, right? Because they were real people.
Yeah. And you're right, they all went through such growth and dealing with stuff on their own and character arc, and it was intense.
Yeah, it really was.
It was intense. And Lexi was the other one where, I mean, gotta love Lexi. She's so strong. She is such a strong, force of nature. I thought finding out that Lexi wouldn't share the apartment, wanted a new apartment, I thought that was badass. I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever heard.
I did too, because
amazing.
When Xander was talking about, we didn't know when we were going to eat, I was like, what? That's, abuse. And to know that, Lexi was like, oh, hell no. No, I don't care what your rules are. This is not happening. I was like, good for you. That, because, you have to stay true to, how you feel too. I think.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I did tease about how I felt like I was on Punk'd with Lexi because you know, as an audience, we get to see everything. So we're seeing Vanessa tell the cameras all the time that I don't know if I want marriage at the end of this. I don't know if I want to be with just one person the rest of my life. And so, you know, she's coming on, and I didn't really think about the fact that Lexi probably didn't know that. Like,
well, and I've thought about it too, where, you know, I think she was falling for Vanessa, and I think, like,
and thinking she was in it the same as she was, like, real, and not hearing all of the, you know, the couch moments, the talking heads, the interviews that we're hearing. And so she's like, so she's like, oh, I think I'm going to choose this person possibly over Mel. And all of a sudden being like, what do you mean you don't think that, like, because then the moment that Vanessa said, well, I thought I could ever, like, marry anyone out of this or say I would be with anyone at the end of this, was when she was like, oh, so you're wasting my time, are you? Yeah. And so I think that's where that breakdown came. You know, because I'm getting information she's not. But.
I think Lexi, too, I think more than anybody, she lives her life so hard, you know, like, I have a plan and I am doing this thing and this is how I'm doing it. And I think she just kind of slotted Vanessa into that plan, and so then taking her out of it felt very dramatic for her, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Like, scary. Like, what if I've put all of this energy and effort into this other person and now they're not going to be my trial wife, right? Like, what do I do now, right?
And so then Vanessa had a target for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Vanessa, I mean, she actually was going to possibly come have a barbecue at our house and talk on the show. I'm not so sure that'll happen anymore after the Xander episode. We had invited her before we filmed with Xander, and I mean,
I still hope she comes. I would love to meet her. And
yeah, I mean, she wasn't coming to talk about the show. She was just coming to talk about, you know, Vanessa off the show, because everyone knows. I mean, Vanessa was very open with everything that happened, and Vanessa has, you know, I think it's been, everyone, you know, has talked about what happened with Vanessa and beaten to death. And, you know, she was definitely, you know, like the villain of the show, have you. And she did do an arc, though. I mean, she did come on against marriage, against being with one person, and by the end, she was vulnerable, or, I mean, what we saw was that she was hurt. She was gut punched, she was scared. And yeah, part of it is because she was cocky, thinking Xander would never be with anyone else. I'll never lose this person. And all of a sudden she's like, oh my gosh. Like, all of a sudden you're faced with, I'm going to lose this person. And I think those were real emotions, even if maybe her dad was right. Because I think in hindsight it probably was, you know, wanting what you can't have, or, you know, that kind of thing.
But I also felt like it was very relatable, like sort of universally relatable, almost as like a first love thing, right? Where it's like your first love is the hardest to let go, right? Yeah. And it's the hard, and maybe they weren't each other's first love, but that's what it smacked up to me, right? Where it's like, you really never walk away from that fully, right? Yeah. And so and you could tell that both of them were very torn up by, you know, like, this isn't going to be how we continue, right? They loved each other very deeply. And so I think she was dealing with a ton of real emotion and raw emotion at the end. You know?
And I think that when you're in the middle of it, you're really feeling those emotions hard coming at you fast. And so even if her dad's saying, well, you're just wanting this because it's, you know, you're wanting what you can't have suddenly. And she's like, I don't think that's what it is. Because you're like, that's not what it feels like it is.
Right,
it feels real, you know. And so, and then I think she did, you know, respectfully at the reunion just say, Lexi, I'll stay out of your way. I apologize for all of you that I tainted your journey. Like, she owned it. Like, I think she knew watching back that I, you know, was the one coming off taking this not seriously. And I was the one coming off almost making a joke out of it. And I was the one coming off kind of messing with people's couples in real lives and flirting in front of them and trying to mess things up, and it bothered people's experiences. And I think she saw that. And I think, you know, for Lexi and a lot of them, I think too little too late. But, you know, as audience members, we could see that it happened, you know, and that she did take that ownership. And
definitely. And I think, you know, there's a huge amount of bravery in that, right? A huge amount of vulnerability at the final show, right, where the debrief or whatever, and where, you know, I mean, people are who they are, but she had a tremendous amount of growth that really showed at the end. You know, she really did it. She really grew. So.
Yeah, and I said that Vanessa and I share a hairstylist. She's amazing. It's Monica at Agape Studio, and she is phenomenal. And she did Vanessa's hair for the reunion, and she's done my hair for the red carpet and for many things. She is just awesome. She is why I have the look that I have. Actually, it's all because of Monica. And so I would go get my hair done and get these fabulous extensions. Monica, thank you. I would go get my hair done, and I would, we'd talk about the show, and at one point Monica was like, you haven't seen this episode? And she put it up as we were doing hair, because, I practically lived there that day. And we watched episodes, like 3 episodes, I think, of Ultimatum, and we were like sparring about Vanessa, because she's met Vanessa in real life and is a huge fan of Vanessa. Sure. And, someone different, 1, if you're not dating them, and 2, if you're not on a show with them, right? In real life. And so she was, she's really fun and funny and cool, and, me and my husband love her, and so I was like, oh, I'll have to get to know her sometime, because I was still on that, Vanessa watching the show. And so we would spar back and forth. And so, on the reunion, when she did, take responsibility and apologize to everyone, I was like, look at your girl. I text her, I'm like, look at your girl, And so, we did it in fun, but because I've. Well,
and this is something that for me, I'm always really startled by the fact that there are people that, just really desire to do reality TV, right? Yeah. Like that, because so many people were doing that. So many people, not just you and Monica, but watching and
and you
having watch parties and talking about it at their church and talking about it at the local bar. These people,
you're not even like a usual watcher, and you were getting mad, and
I was really invested.
You were getting so angry,
embarrassingly so. And but you really feel. I think I really feel for the people who even now I think are still going through it, right? Yeah. They're still living this, and there's a certain amount of choice, right? They made a choice. They went on the show. They did that on purpose. They signed up for things. But I think also, I think a really common refrain is, I just didn't know how it was going to feel.
Yeah.
And you don't, right? Yeah. Even in real life, when there's not cameras and it's not inflated drama and it's not these intense circumstances that you can't escape, you get into circumstances where you're like, I really did not think I would feel this way.
Yeah.
So I think there's a level of bravery that is commendable, right? Either that or absurd. When people
do you remember?
choose to do it.
Do you remember when you got the most mad?
No.
It's when Vanessa told Xander to fuck off at that dinner. She kept saying "fuck off." Oh man.
Yeah. Yikes.
But not to say. Probably not the way to finish that up, obviously I just said that, but I still think Vanessa should come and have a barbecue and kick it in real life. And she's a real person that has fun. I follow her, I follow all of them, and she has fun, and she is a fun spirit, and she's learning and growing like all of us, and she just had a microscope on her. And I want to hear about the other stuff she's doing in life and her goals and plans and her living over here now. And but I also understand that in what we do, she may not want to. We talked to her ex, so and that is true, we did, and love her ex, and and even Xander says hopefully someday they
will be good friends again.
Yeah. And that also, Xander is, an amazing person, and she knows there's a lot of good qualities there, as a friend.
Again, I guess I'm just going to be redundant, because I just really felt like I can really only compare this show to The Bachelor, right? Because those are really the only ones I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I do not watch reality TV.
I'm a Bachelor Nation.
Yeah, and I would never have watched it except for you.
Yeah.
And I always feel like on The Bachelor, maybe the top 2 or 3, you get to know them enough to be like, oh, they're cute, and it's cute, right? But with all of these people on Ultimatum, I genuinely felt like oh, I know, like, I know you, right? And I would like to know you more, right? There wasn't a single one where I'd be like, oh, I don't want to spend any time with you. All of them, I was like, I would love to get to know you better, right? Like, I don't know how they did it, but it really felt like we were allowed in. And got to become friends with these people.
Really, I feel like, allowed us in to the biggest level is Aussie.
Yeah, the amount of
we hurt
bravery,
with her, we cried with her, we cheered with her.
We wanted better for her. We
wanted to reach in and hug her. We wanted to reach in and shake her. Like, Aussie's definitely someone I want to get to know.
Same. Yeah, there's not a single one of them who I wouldn't want to have here for a barbecue. Genuinely, like not all together.
Or maybe in film it.
I mean, you could do that. I mean, that's the benefit of being an introvert, right? Like one-on-one time. I would.
Who would you have wanted your trial marriage with?
Mel.
Yeah, Mel.
I mean, really?
Not Mildred?
Mildred and I would have torn each other's hair off.
Yeah.
I think as like best buddies, we would like laugh our asses off and have so much fun. Again, this is what I mean. Like, no, I could never have been with Mildred, right? And I am too messy for her. I mean, that's just straight truth. Like, I am not a good housekeeper. I would not have stepped up for what she needed in the way that she needed it. I was so proud of her.
Yoli too. Yoli's
oh my God, Yoli too. I mean, Yoli would have cut, she would have cut a bit. She would have been like, get the hell out. You need to. I would have like,
you did not make the corners of the bed right.
Or unpack your damn suitcase. Like, I'm on vacation. Who cares? I'm living out of a suitcase. And she would have been like, can you just. So,
Babe, we have suitcases not unpacked right now, and we're not on vacation.
Right, we just came back from vacation. That's what I'm saying.
Just came back, in quotes, just.
But how long has it been?
A while.
But anyway, I would not have been a good fit with Mildred. But what's happening?
Our gorgeous daughter needs to come in and get something in the kitchen. She's trying to sneak under.
I'll hide you. So, But again, I felt like I would have been friends with her. And in that scene where they're all kind of sitting around the pool, I would have just dug that. Like, really getting to know each person, really, like having drinks with everybody. I think it would have been, all of them. There's not a single one on the show that I wouldn't want to. Like I said, I want them all to come here for a barbecue, not all together, one at a time.
Yeah, Tiff's another one we want to give big hugs to.
Oh, man. I love Tiff.
Yeah.
I love her.
Aww, yeah. I mean, and it was kind of fun because there was a lot of strong personalities. Like, Mildred is a strong personality. Lexi is a strong personality. Yoli is a strong personality. Mal's, we just had strong personalities. And you're much more personality like Xander. Yeah. Right? And so Xander was amongst, strong personalities and handled it like a boss. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, just held their own, and
that sound was our freezer opening for ice cream.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Xander handled it because that was a lot of strong personalities around Xander, and Aussie, and Sam had to be around some strong personalities.
But Sam, she really stood up, oh man, that was a transformation that I just loved to. It was so inspiring to me as an introvert to just be like, yeah. Absolutely, you can set your own boundaries and you can do these things, and absolutely you can. We're just the whole family's here today. And I was really proud of her. I'm not even in a condescending way, but I just felt like each one of them was so relatable, and I could put myself in their shoes and be like, holy shit! Like the places you have gone in this show is incredible, right?
Yeah.
So. And just how much we learned about kind of the human condition from all of them, right? Watching Mal break down. She's this strong, incredible, effortlessly cool human. Yeah. And she was heartbroken. And it
really showed this is real life. This is what you're going through right now, and this is not a joke. Yeah.
And, from that to Ray, who struggled with self-love and self-acceptance afterwards, and struggled with I'm here and I'm living this fully and I'm doing what she asked me to do, and yet it's not ever going to be okay again, right? And just living this feeling that we've all lived that, right? Where you make decisions and then later you're like, I don't take it back, but holy cow, has it impacted my life, right? And
and I think that's what was so brilliant about this show, is that instead of us just seeing one side of it and then of course they have to go through the other side, it took us through both sides. And
maybe that's what it was.
The second part is what we don't ever see on any other show, and the second part was the most raw. Because watching them have to figure it out with a new person is fun to watch, and watching fall in love, or watching the awkwardness, watching the fights and the arguments with this, Sam and Tiff and the dog, all these things. But it's when they have to go back to their person that was really where that, after that, the aftermath of watching that was where it really was like, oh.
Well, and it's true, right? I mean, when you are around your person, there's an expectation that you are you. And when you're under this kind of pressure and these kinds of changes, you will be like excruciatingly aware of all the shifts that are happening to you as well. And I think that's what, because everybody was going through this sort of wild-eyed, holy shit, what is happening to me moments, right? And trying to hang on to this love that they had really come into the show thinking was going to be forever. And that just made it was so powerful.
So I mean, hands off to Kinetic Casting, hands off to Netflix. I mean, they just really
it was incredible.
Blew me out of the water, especially for a show to come and be new, because Bachelor and all their spin-offs have been around so long, and they've they're this mecca of dating shows, and for them to come and have the first all queer cast and do it this well was unbelievable. So.
I think it's hats off, not hands off. Hats off to Netflix. Like, hats off.
That makes more sense.
It does.
Because you don't want your hand to come off.
You really would not. Hats off, everybody.
What I think I was mixing up is gloves off, and it definitely wouldn't fit either. But I think that's where the hands off came in my head, was gloves off, hats off, hands off.
You're also falling off the side of the camera.
Oh, I'm back.
So, I mean, we had an incredible time with it. It really, I think, for us was an important show, too, as, queer women and queer women raising a family and queer women falling in love. It validated all of that for me, right? And just made it all feel like, of course, this is a love story worth participating in, and being a part of. Agreed.
So until next time, those are our thoughts on Ultimatum Queer Love and reality TV.
Well,
love it.
I could do without it.
But you secretly love it.
I loved Ultimatum.
And?
What?
And Bachelor in Paradise, there's been ones you've loved. Especially when there was the queer couple on it.
That's pretty much it.
And I thought The Last Bachelor you liked too.
Well, I'm not going to speak against Bachelor Nation because that gets you nowhere in America.
But you did like it.
Liked it, for sure.
She gets in it.
I like sitting with her and watching things.
She gets in it.
So since she watches those nonstop, constantly. I think it might be saving the relationship though, because I have to work a lot and I have to work a lot late, and I can just put earphones in and she's like, oh good, I'll just binge watch reality TV. So I'll once in a while look up and they'll be like, the Real Housewives will be drinking themselves into oblivion or Bachelor Nation will be like.
The Bachelor Nation, I pull you in on them though.
Most of the time. Most of the time I watch those.
Yep. So.
So.
That's that.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.